Christopher Bitten, the one host with 7 billion voices. Today, we're talking about the African American family, or the fading African American family structure. The days of seeing two parent households, wow, it's becoming a reality that is vastly fading away. Um, I was listening to one of Farrakhan's speeches or lectures, and he was talking about, how African Americans are not getting married like they used to, and if they are getting married, they're not staying married uh, like days of old from the 1880s to the 1960s. And due to the fact that we are not reproducing, had it not been for the single mothers or the teenage pregnancy rate in the African American community, we would vastly become extinct as a people because we're no longer reproducing like we used to. I remember listening to my mom, not a very influential family that she came from, but it was a family of 12 kids down in Alabama. Um, we were making babies, y'all. After the 60s and the civil rights movement or the feminist movement, a lot of the women went out into the workforce and started working, and now their jobs became a priority as opposed to uh, being there for their family or building a family. And to the point of what we see here today, um, is our the pursuit of our careers, our goals that 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 inspire us, and not settling down and raising a family. Especially when we look at the African American women. So, what we're touching upon is a lot of the events that transpired between the 70s and the 80s to where we are today, where um, we're not seeing too many families here. What we see is a lot of single moms, and they're struggling to make ends meet. And when we're not seeing is fathers out there playing an active role in their children's lives. Now, every story is different. Every reason is different of why we don't see the father in the equation or being involved in their children's lives. Um, a lot of guys out there that refuse to step up to the plate, and there's a lot of guys out there, let's be fair, that can't or are unable to step up to the plate or are unable to play an active role in their child's lives because the mother pretty much keep them out of the equation. So, if we look at the fact that there are no jobs out here that's in employing the African American men because the jobs are gone, if we look at the fact that a lot of your male fathers are either incarcerated or due to the fact that they have a record, they can't get a job, due to the fact that a lot of your employment opportunities in the workforce are granted to African American women, far greater than they are offered to African American men. Just to read one of the reports here that I have in front of me, uh, entitled "The Poor State of Black Families: A Portrait of Black America Before the 2010 Census." Historically, black mothers with children under 18 have been more likely than white mothers with children under 18 to work. In 2008, 76.7% of black mothers worked compared to 70.8% of white mothers. In 2008, 61.4% of Hispanic mothers and 68.8% of Asian mothers work. And let's go back to the feminist movement. The feminist movement was something that was started by, for the most part, by white American women to demand equal share, equal opportunity, along with other things, but one in the workforce. So they went out here to fight for this movement, this feminist movement, during around the same time of the civil rights movement. I think a lot of sisters got caught up in this particular movement, while a lot of other sisters pretty was hip to what was going on. And I say like back in the 60s and 70s. Now, what I just read to you was the percentage of African American mothers working in the workforce in 2008 compared to the percentage of white mothers working. And African American mothers is at 76.7%, while white mothers is at 70.8%. Let that simmer. Like I said before, the feminist movement was not a movement that I can say that was to help empower the African American women, because from day one, African American women, along with their husbands, worked in the workforce to maintain an economic stability and to maintain the family structure in the household. And even though during the civil rights movement and the feminist movement, a lot of these white women stepped up to the plate and demand to be considered equal in the workforce, we still have more African American women working than white women. So how were they out here to fight for this, and yet they're not even working as much as the black mothers are working here in the workforce? Black married couples. Now we're going to look at the single moms. Here it says single mom homes equals a poor family. Black married couple families have a median income of more than $65,000 a year, the lowest of all races. We at the bottom of the totem pole as African Americans. No progress. The lowest of all races. But the median income for a black family headed by a woman is about $26,000 a year. The poverty threshold for a family of four is $22,000 a year. Nearly half of young black children living with their mom are poor. And as a result of that, they are going to start out in poverty. They will have to go to schools that are failing or is labeled as failing schools. So, with the absence of the father or the absence of having two incomes, our children are being raised in poverty if they're being raised by a single mom, which, as I stated earlier, was at, what, 33%? That was at in 1980, so that's out the window now. We're looking at half, what, close to 50%? 49% of our mothers are out here working, and single moms in the workforce. Our children is already coming into the world behind the 8 ball. And now, without a father in their lives, not only do they experience living in poverty and being deprived of a good education, they are being deprived of having that connection with a male figure in their lives that can probably enhance their lives. So from there, we would like to talk about the importance of the fathers in the household. I had did some research on cultures around the world and in which the roles that father plays in these cultures, and it's very, very profound. What I learned that you have a lot of fathers responsible for structuring the communities, establishing government, establishing politics, economics. They're pretty much considered the foundation, not only of the family, but of the community. Not only a community, but as a culture of people, the father plays a very significant role. And mind you, and keep in thought here, when you think about how countries or cultures or civilizations get invaded or conquered, the first thing that they come after is the men. They take the men out because they know that is the strength, that is the foundation of that civilization, of that culture. And the oppressor or comes in, that's the first person that they attack to take out of the equation. And by doing so, you leave the mothers and their children vulnerable to be conquered. And once they're conquered, they have no choice but to assimilate into the new oppressor's culture. So this is what we see here in our communities, in the African American communities. When you take the fathers out of the equation, you leave vulnerable the mothers and their young child to be susceptible to their oppressor, with no choice but to assimilate into this new culture. They no longer had no defenders to protect them. So now, there's no man there to protect their seeds, to protect their women. And because of that, the women has no choice but to assimilate into this new culture that will probably and more than likely, that is, keeping them suppressed and weak. And that's what we're seeing today. Our children are being taught by an oppressive system that is established to keep them ignorant and lost and in the darkness. And it would be a cycle going on to feed into this oppressive system. Because with the miseducation and the lack of foundation, our children are wandering, lost in this wilderness. And they're being guided either into early graves or early jails or just plain out servitude, slaves that feeds into this oppressive system. So, I know a lot of women out there probably would not or do not want to agree in what I'm telling them, but it's true. And what I'm really trying to express here is that I'm not trying to say that we need to stay married in order to raise our children, because I am a divorcee. So how dare I tell you to do something that I couldn't do myself? But what I am stressing to you right now is that it takes two parents, two responsible parents, to raise our children. Whether I live in the house or outside of the house, I feel that my role is just as important, if not more important, in being a part of our child's life. That it will only hurt our children if one of our parents is missing from the equation. Like I always say, I've been a single father for well over 16 years, and not once have I seen myself as both my daughter's mother and father. I am only their father. I cannot feel that role as their mother. I can only do what I can do for them as a father, and I do not want to fill that role as a mother. They have a mother for that. So no, I'm not the mother and the father. I'm just a father, because they need that balance. Their mother is just important in their lives as I am. Now I can be that rock and that foundation in which they stand on, but she can be that emotional tide to help nurture and guide them as well. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. I'm not trying to stress that, oh, you have to stay together in order to have a healthy child. No, you don't physically have to stay together, but we do have to work together in raising this child